What if I told you that, in just 85 laps, Lewis Hamilton not only validated his riskiest decision in more than a decade, but also put years of Ferrari's technical development in check? What really happened on the second day of testing with the SF26 in Barcelona that has changed the narrative within Maranello? Barcelona woke up with clear skies. The Circuit de Catalunya layout shone under a light that, for many, simply promised another day of testing. But for Lewis Hamilton, this day meant much more than that. It was the first time that I could squeeze the SF26 without the limitations of the rain, without excuses, without obstacles. Only him, the machine, and 4,655 meters of asphalt ready to give him answers. In just a few hours, he completed 85 clean laps. No error, no technical failure, no red flag, and most importantly, no hint of discomfort. In the paddock, there was the silence of those observing something unexpected. Because if Hamilton's debut in Australia had been, by his own admission, a reality check, this test was the opposite, a manifesto. Each lap was designed as a piece of validation. It was not time to attack times, but to thoroughly understand the dynamics of the car. The day was divided into 3 very marked blocks: an initial adaptation phase, followed by simulations with different hybrid power maps, and finally, a series of stints where the active aerodynamics were tested, alternating between straight mode and curved mode, in real dry track conditions. The rhythm was not the only relevant data. The sensations reported by Hamilton to his engineers completely changed the team's internal narrative. For weeks, those around Ferrari had wondered if the Briton's much more aggressive driving style in the braking and corner entry phase would be compatible with a car born from the Leclerc tradition. But the data dispelled that doubt. The telemetry revealed an uncomfortable truth for some. The SF26 not only tolerates Hamilton's style, it enhances it. In several areas of the circuit, especially in turns 4, 9 and the last technical sector before the main straight, Hamilton found a half-second average advantage over Leclerc in comparable simulations. And that, without looking for qualifying times. Inside the box, the faces changed. It was no longer just a driver adapting to the car. Now it was the car adapting to the driver. The session was extended without incident and, even more surprising, without major setup changes. Ferrari maintained a base configuration for more than 80% of the day, a clear indication of mechanical stability, but also of total confidence in what Hamilton was feeling behind the wheel. Several engineers, according to internal sources, likened the process to a kind of conceptual recalibration. It was not Hamilton who was learning Ferrari. It was Ferrari that was beginning to understand another way of driving, of braking later, of rotating more aggressively, of playing with energy recovery to push where before it was conserved. And as the paddock began to take note of this new internal balance, Charles Leclerc watched in silence. He knew that in the afternoon it would be his turn to respond on the court. But something had already changed. Because the morning of January 29th was not just another testing session. It was the day Lewis Hamilton made the SF26 his own. And in doing so, he gave Ferrari something it hasn't had for years. A different vision, perhaps a winning vision. To understand why an 85-lap day with the SF26 is more than just training, you have to understand the terrain in which this new era is developing. Because what we are witnessing in 2026 is not a simple technical update. It is a total rewrite of the Formula One manual. And Lewis Hamilton, based on experience and context, is the driver best suited to decipher it first. Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur put it bluntly, it's the biggest regulatory change in 25 years. He didn't say it for marketing. He said it because it's true. From the end of the V10 era until the arrival of turbo hybrids in 2014, no technical leap has demanded so much from the teams, the engineers, and especially the drivers. It all starts with the heart of the car, the power unit. It is now evenly divided, 50% thermal, 50% electric. This means that each action of the pilot has consequences in 2 different worlds, that of internal combustion and that of recovered energy. The old 120 kilowatts MGUK has been replaced by a 350 kilowatts one. More than 3 times the electrical power, more than 3 times the possibilities, and more than 3 times the decisions to make on the track. The pilot no longer accelerates just to move forward. He accelerates thinking about how much electrical deployment he wants to release. Brake thinking about how much energy you want to recover. And all this without compromising the balance of the car. It is dynamic chess that happens in real time. Every corner becomes a tactical choice. But the change does not end there. DRS, that system that for more than a decade defined overtaking and straight-line strategy, has been eliminated. Instead, Formula One has introduced for the first time a manual active aerodynamic system on both front and rear wings. Here, there are no predefined zones. There are no limitations due to proximity to the car in front. Now, the pilot decides when to activate straight mode to reduce downforce and gain speed, or when to enter curve mode to increase grip and stability. This completely changes the relationship between car and driver. Each lap can have multiple change zones. Each sector can be executed with a different aerodynamic configuration. The pilot, in essence, becomes his own aerodynamic strategist, and this increases the cognitive load brutally. Ferrari, in this context, opted for a radical design philosophy. The SF26 completely abandons ground effect as the basis of aerodynamics, a resource that had dominated previous seasons. Instead, it adopts a cleaner line focused on efficiency, lightness, and the precise interaction between upper airflow and suspension. For more than a decade, the image of Lewis Hamilton was inevitably linked to the Silver Arrow. His name was written alongside Mercedes in the history books of Formula One. But any true change implies resignation. Give up stability. To the past. To the comfort zone. In 2026, Lewis Hamilton chose the most difficult path, starting over. And it is not an exaggeration. Drivers with multiple championships rarely change teams late in their careers, much less towards a structure under reconstruction. But Hamilton, since signing with Ferrari, made it clear that he was not coming to look for a golden retirement. I came to close the circle, to complete his legacy, to face the biggest challenge of all, win again, but this time with the rampant horse on his chest. What happened in Barcelona was not just a technical test. It was a declaration of identity. For the first time since donning red, Hamilton stopped looking like a temporary visitor. That morning of 85 laps was the moment when he merged with the car, with the team, with the challenge. He stopped being the champion who came from Mercedes and began to become the Hamilton of Ferrari. And this is not just a narrative perception. The data backs it up. The Maranello engineers reported something rarely heard in such an early phase of testing. The car responded better to Hamilton's input than to Leclerc's. The British managed to activate areas of the SF26 that had not yet been explored. He communicated with the car through a language that seemed forgotten within the Scuderia. That of tactical anticipation, controlled aggressiveness, the total reading of dynamic behavior. It wasn't about going faster. It was about feeling more deeply. Hamilton modified his corner entry trajectories, adjusted the braking points. He played with energy recovery like someone tuning an instrument. And he did it without losing rhythm, without sacrificing consistency. Turns 3, 5 and the final chicane left telemetric traces that surprised even the track engineering team. Differences in minimum speed, torque delivery, and transitions between active aerodynamics modes executed with millimetric fluidity. There, in those margins, the new version of Hamilton was born. But this type of transformation goes beyond graphics. It also happens emotionally, in the way you communicate with engineers. In how he enters and leaves the box. In body language. He is no longer seen reading the car. He is seen teaching it, reinterpreting it, making a project your own that seemed made for someone else. And this inevitably poses a tension within Ferrari. Because for years, Leclerc was the axis of all development. He was the team's compass. But now, Hamilton has brought with him another way of understanding driving and has forced a re-evaluation. What happens when the car responds better to those who came from outside than to those who grew up inside? The team's leaders have yet to give public signs of changing their core technical approach. But internally, the conversation has begun. There are those who propose creating a double path of development. Others, more radical, suggest reorienting the entire design towards Hamilton's preferences. Whatever the decision, the balance has been altered. And that, in a team as steeped in history as Ferrari, is no small feat. When Hamilton got out of the car after completing his 85 laps, he did not celebrate. He didn't raise his arms. There were no theatrical gestures. Just a calm look at his engineers and a phrase that, according to internal sources, was repeated in a low voice. "We are on the way." He didn't say it with euphoria. He said it with certainty. With the security of someone who has found their place again. Not in Mercedes. Not in the past. But here in the present, dressed in red. What began as a phase of technical adaptation transformed into an act of emotional appropriation. Lewis Hamilton has gone from being a star signing to becoming the functional heart of the SF26. He is no longer a stranger in Maranello. He is no longer a symbolic figure. He is the pilot who managed to activate the dormant potential of a project that was full of promises, but empty of certainties. And the most powerful thing of all is that this transformation did not occur in an official race. It wasn't in a classification. It wasn't on a podium. It happened on an empty circuit, without global cameras, without trophies. It was in a private session, one of those that are rarely remembered, except when they mark a before and after. The team has noticed it. Leclerc has noticed it. The competition has noticed it. And what seemed like a new cycle for Ferrari could become a structural disruption on the grid. If the car responds to Hamilton, if reliability is maintained, if the technical adaptation continues at this pace, who can stop this alliance when the races come where the points are really counted? But at the same time, the question remains open. Can Ferrari sustain this new internal leadership without fracturing? How will Leclerc manage this silent evolution that could displace him from his symbolic throne? Are we facing a historic collaboration, or on the verge of an internal implosion in Maranello? Nothing is guaranteed. But one thing is certain. This test was not a simple day of filming. It was the birth of a new narrative. The story of how Hamilton quietly became the axis around which the entire 2026 era could revolve. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.